Hi, I'm Katherine Mautner. I'm a senior clinician here at the Anna Freud Centre, and I work with children and families of all ages, particularly working with children where there have been lots of difficulties in the family, and the children's emotional well-being and mental health is affected by those family issues. So usually in a therapy setting, it's often one-to-one therapy with children and young people, and that means that you'll see the same person every time you come, and there's a kind of you start to build a relationship with that person in the time that you have with them each time you visit. But that person also needs to make sure that they're thinking really carefully about you and your needs, and thinking about how they can best help you. And so they'd probably speak to other people about that. Every therapist will have a supervisor who they speak to. So there will be somebody else who knows about the work that's being done and who helps the therapist think about you and your needs. And then sometimes there's also a team of colleagues around that therapist who they might consult with, not necessarily giving details of you and your life, but thinking with them about how they can best help you and best kind of meet your needs in therapy. So the best setting for you being able to make changes that help you move on from whatever it is that's difficult for you is within a trusting relationship. So it's through a connection with somebody else that you'll really be able to come to understand yourself differently and make choices for yourself that help you to move forwards, and to feel better. That sort of thing happens most effectively when you meet with someone on a regular basis and you feel like they know you and they understand you, and that they've got a kind of protected space that they keep for you every time that you come. So that relationship is really key to the therapy. So it's really common to think about your therapist between sessions, and to kind of to wish that you could tell them something or ask for advice in between times. Often the therapist isn't available to talk to you in between sessions, and it can become a really good habit and a really important part of your therapeutic process to start to kind of hold on to those thoughts and take them with you into your next session. Sometimes it can be helpful to write them down or make yourself a note on your phone, so that you get into the habit of kind of bringing those things that occurred to you in the time between sessions into your sessions, and make sure that that informs your conversations with your therapist. If there's something that's much more urgent, then and you feel like you can't wait until the next session, or if you feel like you're in any danger or you're feeling unsafe, then there's an urgent help button on this website where you can find information about how to get more immediate help. Sometimes organisations are also available to be contacted in that sort of situation, but it might not be that you get to speak to your therapist straight away. Yes, the session's a really good place to provide feedback, if you can, to your therapist, and they should be really open to hearing about how they're doing and how it feels to be in a room with them, and what's going well and what's not going so well. And if you can take that into sessions, then that's the best possible place for you to do that, really. It will be part of your developing relationship with your therapist if you can address those things directly. If there are things that you feel embarrassed about or are very difficult or personal, you don't feel your therapist is going to be able to hear you or help you with those, then it's also important that you don't just let that slide, that you find another way of communicating that. You should be able to contact someone else in the organisation and ask them how you can give that feedback in a different way. Or it might be that you might want to give that feedback to your therapist, but to do it less directly through an email or a letter that explains your concerns or your experience, and gives the therapist an opportunity to think about that and to come back to you and talk to you about it again. So it is really important that you come to feel comfortable with your therapist, and that you come to feel like they've got something helpful to offer you. That doesn't always happen straight away, and it's important that you give that relationship a chance, and also that you kind of think carefully about what it is that's difficult in the relationship that you've got with them, and try and, if you can, address that with them directly. But if you feel like you've given that relationship a really good chance, and you've tried to make changes that help the therapeutic relationship develop, and it's really not getting there, you don't come to feeling comfortable with and trusting of your therapist, then there are also other things you can do. You can talk, as well as talking to your therapist, you can address that with the organisation where they work and see whether there are other options, and sometimes changing therapists can be a really positive move. Okay, so the first thing I would suggest is that if you've got worries or concerns about how therapy's going, and it's about the therapist themselves, if you can possibly address that in your therapy sessions, that's the first thing to do. Sometimes that can be really difficult, but it's a really important part of a process of kind of feeding back and kind of developing a relationship with your therapist. If it goes beyond that point and you really do want to make a complaint outside of that process, then there should be information on the website of the organisation where the therapist works, and also you can ask somebody at the organisation to provide you with that information directly. Then there's often a process of writing down what it is that you're worried about or you think isn't good enough about the therapy that you've been having. And you might want help from a friend or an adult to make sure that you write that down in a way that really says something about your experience. And then you need to know that once you've kind of submitted that complaint, that information will be looked at not just by your therapist, but probably by a manager as well. And they will hopefully contact you at the earliest point to say they've received it and they're kind of trying to work out what to do next. And then hopefully keep you informed all the way through the process of how that complaint is being managed, so that you hopefully come out feeling like that's been really listened to, and that maybe they'll be able to offer you something to meet your needs in a different way.